to reach the speeds that they've suggested, this thing is moving on a cushion of air. Air is going underneath that, keeping it elevated like hydrofoil, and it's cascading down this mountainside, again, in excess of 200 miles per hour. So what we have at that point is referred to as a slide, another type of mass movement. Well, the pressure from friction, it's dropping in elevation, the mass of ice begins to melt. And now it begins to flow like a big, angry river down the mountain. So now we have a mass of debris going down. So you have flow activity at the end. Okay, incorporated in this now are trees, animals, rocks, soil, all kinds of debris dumped into this. Now, the people of the village where it was first reported as a potential danger initially didn't realize there was a problem. Because if we looked at the mountain valley, here's the source area, here's the mountain valley, and it does something like this. Curves. And if we did a cross section through here, what we'd be looking at is something like this. So the ice should stay within this valley. Well, anything traveling in excess of 200 miles an hour wants to travel in a straight line. Take your automobiles and go racing down the road and try and turn, and there's going to be resistance to you going around. There's your energy is carrying you forward, and that's what happens here. When it hits the bend, it leaves this channel at this point, leaves the channel, falls over the edge. Here's our village, and by the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. Literally, you get this debris coming off like a ski jump, propelling forward, and then kaplat. You get 4 minutes. 4 minutes, over 20,000 people disappeared from the face of the earth, perpetually buried in this debris. The few hundred that survived ran to the highest point in the valley, which was the cemetery. Rather ironic, those that survived ran to the cemetery, and they did so. The stuff went all the way around the cemetery, but didn't get to the cemetery. Well, obviously, now there's that report out there. Ooh, we didn't do anything about it. Who's going to be held responsible? Well, what do you do as soon as that happens? Let's send a team out there to see what happens. So weeks later, they sent a team out to check what had happened. They analyzed it. They came up with this. They realized the material had jumped out of the valley, and it was obviously a big problem. Well, they began to look here carefully, and what they found was, here was the village initially. Village is completely buried in this stuff. They decided to take a core sample, and down below was another village that had been buried in previous 100 or 200 years prior to that. People have returned to this place. It happened in the 1970s, summer of 1970. 40 years ago. They're back there. And they're back there because in mountainous regions, there are very few places you can set up agriculture, you can set up a town, and so on. So people are back there, and it's going to happen again and again and again. There's no other option. So on this, there's a fall, a slide, and a flow. So this is referred to as a composite mass wasting activity. A second one, not quite so much D&D. 1966 in Wales. Wales is a poor sister of the United Kingdom. You have Scotland, you have England, you have Wales, you have Northern Ireland. Wales is a poor sister in that group. Wales has existed on mining activity for the last 150 years. And what they mine is basically coal from below the surface. And what they do is they've established mine shafts to get at this seam of coal. But in doing so, there's always debris. It's not always pure coal, there's slag and other types of material. And so consequently, you have to get rid of this stuff by piling it up next to a mine site. So you got these slag heaps tens of feet high along the mine site. Wales is an area with a fair amount of precipitation. And it was October, it's been raining for a while, and unfortunately, there's a little community down here, Aberfron, little community, and you can see what's going to happen. One of these coal piles will break loose and go cascading down the hillside. It's not a mountain, it's a hillside. It runs into a school building. 144 people died, 116 were kids, elementary school kids. Wiped out the entire generation of youngsters in that village in a matter of minutes. This was done by the stupidity of human activity. This was done because we didn't have regulation saying, you can't do this. And regulations would cost money, and obviously jobs are more important than other things, but in this case, we literally wiped out a whole generation. It was a grade school from 1 through 8, very few survivors. Okay, so we have slow and rapid. Then we have slow slides, rapid slides, slow flows, rapid slows. We have falls, obviously only in the rapid category. We have subsidence, and we have composite. Composite is just a combination of these. Slow slide is called creep. Your author may refer to this as soil creep. The very slow movement of surface materials down slope. Very slow movement of surface materials down slope. Surface creep, soil creep, is most common in areas such as mid-Wisconsin, where you have winter, spring, summer, and fall. Because with surface creep, what happens, there's this nice little slope, soil particles at the very top of this. When they freeze, soil particle will be pushed up here. When it thaws, the soil particle comes down to rest at this point. Freezes, it goes up, thaws, it comes back down. So gradually over a period of time, these particles are going to drift down this mountain or hillside slope. If you go to the eastern part of Wausau, there are some retaining walls that are like such. These retaining walls were built vertically, but because of this surface creep pushing against the retaining wall, that which was like this now is like such, or like such, or like such, or like such. Literally, surface creep works continuously, slowly, and it's going to modify our landscapes over time. Now, surface creep, again, frost action, and if we can bring about vibrations within the earth. Now we've got adequate amount of vibrations. Have you ever watched a big heavy-duty truck pull into a park?